Take video. Alrighty. Alright. Hello. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to 17 and some change. I'm EQDez17 and I'm here to bring you my 2 cents. So today's episode 3. Um, It's a lot colder today in my neck of the woods than it has been in the past few days. It's like a 20-degree drop from what we've been used to the past week or so. So I got the hoodie to cover my ears because like most of the heat and a human escapes from the ears, and it's like, oh well, why don't you turn on your heater? It's like, bruh, I haven't turned on my heater for like over a month now, and I just don't want that nasty air coming out of the vents when it's hasn't been going for like a month. Anywho, um if y'all joined me in my last episode, you heard about a bird situation that I had going on. I had some birds trying to like nest in my wall. Um, they look like these large black birds with big ass beaks. Um, and I did a little bit of research. Um, because I was trying to figure out whether to kick them out, like how I go about kicking them out, and what the situation was with that. Um, but after doing a little bit of research, I realized that this particular, um, or not this particular, I should say the absolute opposite. I realized that generally speaking, um, birds will find a place to um, lay their eggs, hatch their eggs, raise their little things, and then they'll dip, right? They're very they don't typically stay around or choose like the same location to drop eggs again in the future or whatever. Um, so hopefully when like the few weeks pass and these birds are like big enough to like not have their home be in my wall, I can just close up that thing. Like I almost closed it up today because I think a few of them have already started to be able to like leave the wall during the day and do like escapades and stuff like that. Because it sounded like half a dozen at first, and now I'm starting to see like smaller birds like outside, and it sounds like there's less in the wall. It sounded like there was only one or two chirping back at me in the wall today. I tried to like I closed it up. I closed it up with a shirt and but I don't want anything dying in the wall. I don't really want anything dying in general. Um, but so the birds were making the I don't know, it might have no, it was definitely squawking, right? So I ended up taking out the shirt that was covering the wall, the hole or whatever. I was just trying to tell him like dog, like um you're not welcome here. But I didn't even anyways. Um Stupid birds. Hopefully they just do what they gotta do and then get out and then I can cover the hole and stuff. My fridge died the other day too. That was pretty cool. But I've had it for like a decade, so I don't really blame it. Um, just like out of nowhere stopped working. So uh, I found out that apparently, even if a fridge is unplugged, has all the food removed, gets sprayed and wiped down, and you put baking soda in the thingy, like they're still they still turn nasty. Like they could still turn nasty, like if you had them a while and stuff like that. And I was like, damn. So I tried getting my shit. I got my shit out within like a few days. Um, I wanted to talk to you guys about PSA a little bit. Um, to kind of like get your thoughts on the whole PSA. That's the grading company, the card grading company. Um, Now like I'm not an expert on um like I'm not a trader, like I'm not a card trader or anything like that. Um I recently um went to liquidate some of my cards that I had gotten in 2016 to replace my original collection, talking Pokemon. Um but I'm definitely not like an expert on like card trading and stuff like that. I did research while I was trying to liquidate, and I realized that if you're trying to sell a card, uh, the the only way you're going to get its most value is if you have a reputable grading company slap it with a 10, right? Um, there are companies outside of PSA that do it, but PSA seems to kind of have a monopoly on brand recognition, name recognition. Um, but Beckett seems to be relatively close. Um, the point is that the cards are, I don't want to say worthless if they're not graded perfectly, but 90% of their value disappears from that 10 grade to anything else. And so you send your card in to this arbitrary process, and I don't think there should really be a distinction between is it an 8, 9, or a 10. I think it should be like anything over an 8 just gets called real, and then you can have your um, value based off of that. But that's hearsay. That's not really. That's kind of just a thought I had off the top of my head just now. Um, a lot of the traditional criticisms in regards to PSA. Um, some people say that there's a group within PSA. I mean, you can essentially just call it PSA on its face, when you're levying the accusation of a group of people trying to control the market, hand choosing how many tens get put onto the market and things like that. Um, More for them type of thing. I've heard that. I've heard some people accuse PSA of being filled to the gills with those types of individuals, making it maybe a collective effort. Um, I cannot confirm or deny that, so I don't want this to be like, oh, you're making claims on PSA that's like uh you know un untraceable and derogatory to their reputation, and so therefore trouble comes for you and stuff like that. Like I don't want any of that shit. I'm just saying. But um ba da ba ba ba. Some criticize it for being arbitrary, the grade. Like I, I've seen cards that are supposed to be eights and they come back as tens, or that's a bad, that's a bad, or vice versa, right? I've seen cards that I thought were 10. Like I can't see the distinction between this 8 and this 10. And that's not me talking, that's just things that I've heard. Um I think it's potentially it's expensive and it takes a long time, and that's confusing to me. Like, why does it cost $15 to inspect and encase a card? Like, how long does that take y'all? Why does it take me weeks to months to get my card back? Are you trying to build anticipation? Do y'all really have that many cards on deck? Like, how is your operation run? Because this does not seem efficient. It seems overly expensive, highly inefficient for a monopoly service. And I don't know if I mentioned at the onset that I do think GameStop is brilliant for doing this, for having this partnership with PSA. I think they kind of, I don't know if they fell into it because of just an alignment of interest based on a candidate that they brought in. Meaning, if they had a new CEO that happened to be in with PSA, like I don't know if it kind of just fell into their lap like that, or if it was a conscious executive decision for them to pair with PSA. But I think every time it seems like GameStop is gonna go out of business and that they're gonna be replaced with the next thing. They're gonna become like Blockbuster. They do something to turn the tables around, and like bringing in Pokemon. Like I don't know if they have a deal with Nintendo, but like having Pokemon like really helped them. Now this PSA thing, and doing a lot of stuff like online and stuff like that. But um yeah, I mean, the only good thing I can say about the grading process is like it does add a little bit of legitimacy, um, and it looks kind of cool. But is it worth $15 in 2 months? If I want to send four cards at a time, that's like $60. Five cards, like that shit adds up mad quick. Like, I know they'll give you deals on bundles and stuff like that, but like, nah, I don't know. What do you? I want to hear your thoughts though. Um, yeah, that does lead me to kind of a anecdotal story that I wanted to run by you guys as well. Um, it's about a contractor. It's short. It's not like this long drawn out story or whatever. Um, it's just like a contractor who's like constantly dragging his son with him to do odd jobs. Until eventually, one day they're together and they're driving around. The son never agreed to work that day. Like they were just hanging out. Like he didn't know that he was being picked up for work or anything like that until dad pulls up to a work site. And then kid's like, yeah, dude, like I'm not doing this shit. Like you didn't tell me we were doing this. I'm tired. I didn't plan on working today. Like I saw the dad goes to do the job and the kid walks home. And and then the kid gets labeled as lazy and that's that's a common trope. You know, this isn't a rare situation or something that doesn't happen. There are, millions of kids, young adults being metaphorically dragged by their ears to do what their parents want them to do, what either one of their parents want them to do. And there's a lot of red flags in that, right? To like not respect um your child's like wants or like schedule. Um, you know, you could say, oh, he should be appreciative, he should follow with you and stuff like that, but it's two things going on. It's two things going on. It's the type of people that would drag their children around despite their children's comfort level are the type that wouldn't make it that that wouldn't be fun to be around anyways, right? The type, right? There are situations like kids can be extremely grateful and extremely like present and cooperative and helpful for the right parents. They can be eager to go help and all these things, but when they're being dragged into stuff that they didn't sign up for, and I'll tell you this, right? And I wrote it down. A lot of this stuff, these I'm using sticky notes today, not a cell phone. But no, like if you it don't it only takes 3 times. It only takes about 3 times as a parent to ignore your child's misery while you're out doing errands or doing a job or something like that. And you continue to do the thing that you're doing, and sometimes you even continue to prompt your child further, like, come on, join in, come on. You're not Are you paying attention to what, or whatever it is, you keep doing what you're doing, you ignore the fact that they don't want to be there, the fact that they're miserable. It only takes 3 times and you've lost them for good. They're never going to want to join in your reindeer games from that point on. They're never going to want to work with you if you can't recognize and respect when they're not feeling it, when they're not having, when they're miserable around you, right? So narcs make bad parents. Like this is a lot of We'll talk about narcissists a lot in this show, and that is, a prime A example of some of the stuff that they would pull. That's just kind of like the tip of the iceberg type shit, you know. Um, which is a decent transition, which is a decent transition into feeling trapped because their existence makes a lot of people feel trapped. And the irony is that most of the time they feel trapped them damn selves. But um a lot of people in today's day and age in this quote unquote rat race, um are finding themselves in a position, in a situation where they feel like they're trapped from all angles. And I mean, all angles, it really boils down to two, maybe three, right? You go to work and maybe you're not in a job that you like. You don't, or maybe you don't like the people that you work with. um maybe these people change constantly, or maybe they don't change enough. you know um and you don't see the next step up, or the next step up doesn't exist, or it's too like far in the future. Like it does exist, but it's going to take you years to start climbing that ladder. Bam, you feel stuck at work. Could you look for another job laterally? Is something you start thinking to yourself, but you're kind of afraid to do it. You're stuck, stuck. Um, and then some people, it could be the same people. And these same individuals, they go to their house and they can barely afford their rent. Um, but they're paying the rent, and their neighbors suck. Their upstairs, downstairs neighbors suck. Their side neighbors suck. And or they're living for free with their parents, but their parents, suck, and they're stuck. That they're home, but they're stuck. They go to work, but they're stuck. And they just got out of school that they were stuck in, and but yeah, it's a lot of people who feel like that, and they don't have any wiggle room for like any disaster, or any vacation. Like they can't even, if they mustered all their money, maybe they can escape for a weekend. And they're just stuck. They're just stuck. Um, and so like, if that's the case, you have to, you have to, start making small steps to get unstuck. And that's what I'm doing. Um, that's what, any psychotherapist would tell a client to do, is to start taking steps to become unstuck, to define the things that you want, and to make steps in that direction. And it's so I can only speak on that as somebody who's been trying it with faith for about 4 to 5 years, right? I should have died in 2020. I should have been dead in 2020. Um, but since then, I've been really building towards an escape, and realizing that um, it takes patience. Like it takes time, it takes consistency, and it takes patience. And hopefully it works out in the long run. So I'm not sitting here trying to give like wild advice. Like I'm not trying to, but like I'm still hoping that consistent progress forward, and consistent investing will get you out. And you know by consistent progress forward, I mean towards financial, side stuff, right? Extra different incomes on the side, and then investing and patience. And I think this is a formula um, towards freedom. And there are, other people on YouTube, because I'm not gonna get into any more of that when it comes to like investing and stuff today. Um, but there are people on YouTube that kind of break down how to gain financial freedom and stuff like that. And the last thing I'm gonna leave you with before I go today is just a definition of what that freedom would look like to me. Um it would be owning a home or being able to comfortably afford rent, but owning a home. And then it's choosing what you do for work, when you do it, who you do it for, and who you do it with. Um, I think if you could choose those four things in regards to your career, and you can own your own place, then no more of this of the feeling stuck. But that's just my 2 cents. And I wish you all a pleasant day. Thanks for being here and all that stuff. Square button. Got you.